Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of On Deck. I'm Russ Morgan. I hope everybody's having a great night. Really pumped that we got Fins Sammy. Join me.
Oh,
Join me.
it's
Yeah,
good.
yeah. You're doing a little different. Join me tonight.
Almost. It's no.
Yeah, I just got to move the hand out a little bit. Join me
Continue the flow. Continue the flow. Yes. How
for
you doing, bro?
TV and here on FTSN to talk a little Braves and little hot teams as long as he can make it. But Sammy, I know, besides, for baseball, the last time we talked baseball, we did the World Baseball Classic preview, which was a lot of fun. But obviously, when I jumped on the draft podcast, we were talking football. But first off, yourself, how you doing tonight?
Well, doing good. The Braves lost today, so I cannot be. I'm gonna be blamed for a jinx because now they're not the best team overall. They're not number one. Don't have the best record in the major league. So good. At least I can take comfort that they lost today. But now the Yankees are having all the pressure. So I'm out of the jinx. So I feel good about that.
It's baseball. Anything can happen in baseball, but
Yes.
it's a cruel mistress, just like golf. But I obviously, you being a Braves fan, and you would texted me wanting to speak about this, and definitely when I looked it up, and knew a little, and then I started doing a little deeper. I'm like, man, this with Ted Turner passing away today, at 87 in his Tallahassee home here in Florida, and I know you probably have a little more, being a Braves fan, a little more personal experience than me, but what he did for the sport, obviously what he did for television and the sport, founding CNN besides baseball, and TBS and the Turner broadcast system, which we're all still watching to this day with TBS and all the NBA coverage, and owning the Atlanta Braves since 1976. But when you heard the news this morning about the passing from Ted Turner, how did you feel? I mean, I know you had mentioned some stuff earlier when we were texting this morning.
Absolutely. I was shocked because I have not heard any news from Turner in a while, but uh, he crossed over everything. Of course, he went to Brown University, and he didn't he didn't finish college in Brown University. So for his dad, he was a disappointment. And when his dad died, he used to be own a company of billboards. So that was the family business, right? So he went into that business, and he found some money to buy basically WTBS in Atlanta. WTBS in Atlanta was almost broke when Turner bought it. So, but he was smart. He used the billboard business to promote the TV business, right? And that was the kind of way he used to operate as a businessman, right? And with the money from the billboards, he made TBS, and with the money from TBS, he bought the Braves, and that day then he went national. And this to this day, anytime you see a Braves game, you really look and hear closely, you can see a lot of fans of the Braves. Sometimes I was watching the other day the game against the Rockies, and it felt like a home game for the Braves. It was incredible. They were in Denver. You can see so many fans cheering for the Braves, and you look behind the deck of the camera, and so many fans wearing I'm sorry, Braves gear, because as force of habit, but because Turner made the Braves America's team. I used to watch that's what I found my love for the Braves. On WTBS. The America's team. The 605, 705, 805, or whatever. There were going to be a Braves game. So he found a way to fill the void of time on the TV by playing the Braves, and then the whole city of Atlanta changed. And he was great for the Braves. He did so many things for the city of Atlanta, a philanthropist and everything. So he founded, of course, WTBS, TNT, Turner Classic Movies, so many other networks. He kept expanding. And after the Olympics in Atlanta, the stadium became Turner Field. Now the President Tourist Park, but it became Turner Field, the home for the Braves for so many years. So he has a legacy in Atlanta. It was a big, huge news. I was watching some people even send me videos and stuff and tell me to videos because it was such a big news in Atlanta. So it's not only for the Braves fan; it's for the whole network. So anything. I saw the guys on ESPN right now that inside the NBA, and they were paying tribute to Turner. So And don't get me even started on wrestling. He had his hands on wrestling too. So a huge loss for Braves fans, for the people in Atlanta. So it's a big deal for so many of us fans.
I mean, it's a big deal. I mean, the guy transcended sports, finding CNN and 24-hour news network. Now we see is all you see. News is running, all day, which gets a little tiring on my end. I don't really want to. Sometimes I just want to turn off the news, but I mean, they didn't have that before, so I definitely transcend sports and turn the Braves into definitely a household name. And obviously, I grew up in the era, I was on the younger side, but obviously being a Yankees fan, the Braves were, our biggest rival in the NL with the Maddox and with the Glavine and the Smoltz and, Chipper Jones or Larry, excuse me.
You still so cheaper. You still.
Oh, hey, all of
it's too late now.
Yeah. Lou, thanks for tuning in, man. I said it was kind of funny. You did a WC preview with me and Alex, which was great. And then Alex did the one, and like with me, I don't care. I just like talking baseball. It's like, yeah, you want to tune in, you like what I say, great. You don't like you don't want to tune in, fine. I literally said to Alex, I'm like, man, just Sammy comes on and just brings an entourage of people. They are just, I mean, Sammy's on, everybody's tuning in, and hats off to you, man.
I was right about the Canadian pitching. I remember, that was that's what I thought. I wasn't right on everything, but I was right about the Canadian pitching, so I'm pretty proud about that.
But we didn't get to speak. I know you got to go to a couple games in Puerto Rico there. How was your experience? Because I mean, I had my brother-in-law, his uncle was at the Panama game, and he was like, it was nuts. But I know you had some stuff going on that you couldn't make that game. But how was your experience? Because my experience for just going to one game in Miami was amazing. I loved every minute of it. And, Ponche is my new favorite Spanish word.
After all the controversy about the some players not playing because there's tourists and everything, there was a lot of disappointment. But, to be honest, I think the Puerto Rican team did a great, one hell of a job. The crowd was behind it so loud, so as usual in Puerto Rico, so behind the team that, it lifted the team because, I was kind of worried, when you don't have Lindor and others, you have a huge chance of being upset. But, I think they did very, very well. They won the pool. So I think they did very, very well. So I feel proud. And those crowds, again, they were amazing, and the municipality of San Juan did such a great job with rebuilding the stadium to put it out to par. Everything outside the stadium, they had a lot of things, amenities around the stadium. So it was a great, a great moment for Puerto Rico, a great moment for San Juan. And, hopefully by next time, the Major League Baseball, we'll do zero by that, because I think this young team proved a lot. That it was a completely very, very, very young team with a lot of upside. So hopefully they can come back next year, having excuses for the team that was here last time to, cannot play next time. So hopefully, we're got a fair do and you have a better chance next time.
I will say, I didn't see the Italy coming, Lou, but I did mention on our preview, I did say, watch out for Italy. Watch out for Italy.
Yes, you did.
I didn't expect them to win that pool, but I mean, it was American, it was our junior varsity team. They did have three players from Italy, but I even said, I was like, hey, for Puerto Rico, I'm like, it sucked because they're supposed to, I mean, it's a baseball powerhouse, but I'm like, the Lindors, the Correas, the Baez's, they're starting to get older. You kind of got to see the newer generation that's going to take over there. Also, all my brother-in-law's family, they're all soccer people, huge soccer fans, all from Argentina. So that's all they know. But I'm like, you don't understand soccer. It's in Cuba and Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, baseball runs. It's baseball's the number one sport. And I found this interesting the other day. So Elmer Rodriguez Cruz, he got his call up with the Yankees last week, and then his I think it's his cousin Jose Ortiz won the Kentucky Derby, and then his brother came in second.
You see that finish? That was amazing.
Oh, it was an amazing finish.
I thought of it, and I saw a post I had to share with Jason Sarney. You remember that? If you are a Seinfeld fan, the episode of Kramer, you know, that kind of finish.
He's a mutter.
It's a mutter. So you know that kind of finish from all the way from the back to that was an amazing. And when you see the trainer and the owners, you know, having that kind of moment as a huge upset, you know, that's the kind of fulfilling story I get from horse racing. I'm not a huge fan, but when you see something like that, it's hard not to root for people like that. So that was awesome.
It was great. That was just something interesting I saw. But going into our next segment, I'm trying to toy around with some new, because once a month I'm doing, you know, gonna try to do, you know, 3 teams that are hot, 3 teams that are surprising, and 3 teams kind of disappointing Mets fans in general. But toying around, trying to get a little better. Maybe I'm never going to get up to your status with promoting on Twitter, but trying to get a little better on Twitter. I had my scouting days where I was like, I really don't like this, but that's the game. Toying around, but I'm either going with around the horn in 3 or around the horn 3 times 3.
Okay.
And I'm just toying around, but you know, I'm trying to promote it a little better, Sammy. Trying to get there, but obviously right now Braves did lose, so they're 26-12, but I didn't see this coming. I mean, did lose the first series of the year this week to the Mariners, but during this streak did have a plus 81 run differential. 9.5 games up on the Phillies, which will go down to 9 if the Phillies go down to 8.5 if the Phillies win today. I didn't see this hot start coming with Strider on injury, losing Schwellenbach, who could be done for the year. The pitching staff has been amazing for what they have. The Chris Sale deal, little knife in my former co-host Dolphins Thirsty, who's a Red Sox fan, with that trade with the Red Sox. But your initial thoughts of the Braves coming into now what you're seeing the Braves are putting on the field day in and day out.
You know, the Braves had a lot of people hurt. If you think about it, you know, that list is long. So, you know, I thought, you know, for the ceiling, I had 90 wins, and for the bottom, I had maybe 80. You know, and I was trying to be optimistic because, you know, the Braves for the last recent year after the 2021 championship, having hot and cold, the expectations have been really high, and then something happens, lots of injuries. You know, of course, Acuna has been hurt multiple times, so that usually hurts the team way too much. He's been hurt for the last couple of games. I think he's coming back. I'll give you the date. I had the date over here. I'll check it in a minute. But, you know, the disappointment is real. You know, when you have a championship team, you expect that, you know, to maybe try to, you know, build on that. You have a couple championships, but, you know, the disappointment has been there for the Braves. But this year, I had that 90. We were lucky. They're on pace for that for sure, you know. But the problem with the Braves is that, you know, down the stretch, two things happen. Usually, they get a lot of injuries in the last 10 years, or, you know, when playoff time comes, they get eliminated in a short series, or, you know, the bats go cold. So I try to be realistic with the Braves. You know, they've been a very successful franchise, but they had a lot of disappointment because when you have high expectations and they're not met, disappointment is there. So I'll have to wait and see after the first series of the playoffs to see how they perform. I'm confident right now, you know, with the lead that they have, they should. I'm not saying they will, but they should make the playoffs. But, you know, like you said, baseball is completely different to any other sport. A team can go cold in a minute and let's lose 8 games and win 10 games. That you don't see that in any other sport. So I will have to wait and see. But, you know, the expectations right now are really, really good. A lot of optimism in Atlanta. I think Walt Weiss has done a tremendous job. He's always was one of those players that, you know, led by example, tough guy. So the continuity that it brought to him being the skipper, for me, was surprising. I didn't expect him to be the skipper, but, you know, you get some continuity, but making adjustments. And I think that's something that works in every single sport. When you have something that's kind of working and you make some kind of continuity with it, you can keep building it. So I think that's a huge plus for the Braves. And, you know, they're hot hitting right now. And The question continues to be, of course, the pitching. The bullpen is kind of strong after a couple of the bullpen, but the pitching is 1 or 2 injuries away from being in trouble. It's not a huge deep team, but it's something that the Braves have done very, very well every single time. Is that when it comes to the trade deadline, if they had needs, they're gonna find a way to to fill those spots. That's how they won the 2021 championship. When they brought in Soler. It changed the complete complexion of the game. So I'm not over the moon with it. I'm a realistic Braves fan. We'll learn how to be realistic Braves fans after so many disappointments. But right now, things are looking good, better than okay.
Yeah, definitely the pitching. I mean, you lose Schwellenbach. What was it? Waltrips on the 15-day. You got 10-day for Acuna, who just went on the other day, who's been often injured.
May 13th is the day for his return.
13th, yeah. But Sammy, you do have a question. Who is your favorite Brave of all time?
Oh wow! I'll tell you what. For so many years in my prime as a Braves fan, Tom Glavine used to be my favorite Brave. But then he signed with the Mets, and that kind of that still stinks a little bit. So I'm still gonna say him or Greg Maddux. Greg Maddux, the professor. That guy used to paint those corners with such perfection. So many great stories. John Smoltz, John Smoltz continue to be one of my favorites of all time. I have a fun attachment in my heart for those '90s Braves because the passion I used to have for those teams at the '90s was completely different for the team that had the rest of it. Right now, I love Acuna, but I will never love Acuna the way I love that '95 team.
Yeah.
After so many disappointments at the '91, '92, and basically the strike season and the '94 season when they basically got eliminated so quickly. When you had that kind of disappointment, it hurts. And you say, I have a great attachment for this team, but who's gonna come back after this? I don't want my team to be known as the Buffalo Braves of baseball. The great thing that they did was they won the '95 championship, and then everything was good after that. But it would have been a huge disappointment when you have that staff with Smalls and even Avery, Smalls, Glavine, Greg Maddux. They had Ken Merker even. They had such a great staff. They had Fred McGriff at some point. Steve Green was an okay player. Terry Pendleton, Chipper Jones, so many great players, and you don't win a championship. That would have been one of that would have been the laughing stuff for generations. But they found a way to win that '95 championship. So I'm gonna say for a favorite, either Greg Maddux or Tom Glavine, because that pitching of those guys that was.
I'm with you. I love Glavine. I wish more. I mean, I like Glavine. I love Maddux. I wish more people pitched the way he did because he didn't overvalue his speed, location, and now we're seeing more and more injuries in baseball because people are chasing velocity, and you see less and less people, less and less pitchers nowadays want to throw it inside because they don't think they can control it as much. But Greg Maddux, the professor was right. The guy just moved the ball around, and it was a thing of beauty when he was pitching.
And such a great stories. Now I didn't know that at the time, but the relationship he had with his catcher Eduardo Perez. He didn't like pitching to Javi Lopez. That was from Puerto Rico, but he didn't like Javi Lopez too much. He liked Eddie Perez, and he didn't have to. He calls his own pitches. The catcher didn't call the pitches. He called his own pitches by rubbing his neck, by the way he catch the ball. Will tell you it's a curveball. Those things are amazing, and that guy had such great precision. So awesome. So that it was one of a kind, man. For the Braves, who were a contender, getting Greg Maddux from the Cubs, that kind of thing doesn't happen anymore in sports. You be in the cusp, and you be in the team that you will not expect to get the best player in the market, basically because he wants to go to that team because he wants to win a championship. Those things don't happen anymore in his prime. So. He could have gone to so many other teams, especially the Yankees. he had conversations with it. He could have gone back to the Cubs, but he chose the Braves because he saw the rotation. He felt like that was the way he could win a championship. So that's one of my fondest memories of Maddux. He was awesome.
He was amazing. But get back to today, nowadays, Braves. They're doing it On the offensive side, I mean, Acuna, who's now hurt, he's 252, and he's getting off to a little slower start. That's kind of, I mean, Austin Riley, 203. But I mean, you're getting Drake Baldwin's having a nice comeback, a nice, a solid year from his rookie of the year last year. He's 303. Ozzie Albies 322. Michael Harris, who's a guy I love watching in center field defensively too. 296. But I mean, if you're looking on the pitching side, the starting staff does not look anywhere scary to me. But you got Chris Sale, a 2.14 ERA, 6-1. Bryce
They're
Elder,
efficient.
Yeah,
they're just efficient.
Very efficient. And if he can stay healthy, that's a guy who's going to win you game one, week in and week out, and especially rolling into the playoffs. I mean, Bryce Elder, 3-1, 2.02 ERA. But, minus that, I mean, Grant Holmes got a 4.34 ERA. A solid, back half of the rotation with Raisel Iglesias, who, high strikeout guy, good late inning control, 6 saves on the year, a good 7-8, and just being able to manage if they have to have the longer innings with the bullpen has done a very good job this year.
Yeah, basically, the pitching has been good enough. And that's where you're hitting very well. That's all you need. You have, the bats are hot. If you have okay pitching, you have a better chance. And the bullpen has been, very, very good for the last, 7 years. Yeah, the Braves have found a way to, shorten games. The bullpen usually is going to go earlier, and that works already so well for them in the 2001 championship run. So I think they know what they're doing. That's the way they find a way to build a team. They know that, the times of the marquee pitcher that will be a Cy Young Award contender. That market is dry. A and B is way too expensive for we try to build a team. So what they do, they find okay players that are good enough to give us 5-6 innings, and they throw it to the bullpen. So that's the strength of the team. Trying to find a way to survive those five innings and to see if the bullpen can settle the game. Of course, and when you're hitting hard, you're hitting the long ball. I saw Lou. I love Lou from Day. Hi Lou. Talking about that commercial, which I love. The Chicks did the long ball, with Madison Bray and Glavine. So basically, that's what they're doing. They're hitting a lot. They're batting out of their mind right now. But that's one of my worries, because when it comes playoff time, what happens? The bats go cold, you lose. And so many times the Brave bat have gone cold during the playoffs. So that's the thing that worries me. That you have to be consistent. You have to get pitching, and you at least 2 players are hitting very well to have a chance. So we'll have to wait and see. But right now, the pitching has been doing enough for the Rays to have this run.
I mean, and they're getting it with Hassan Kim, who was supposed to be their starting shortstop, and Durbin 267. You get a little nice boost from Dominic Smith off the bench, who's batting 324, 4 home runs. I actually played Dominic Smith in high school. Went to a small Catholic high school. He was a freshman when I was a senior, and his freshman year he threw 86 off the mound as a lefty. The coach on the other team decided to catch him. It was actually Hank Aaron's nephew, but he decided to catch him. He had like a 1.8 pop time, and then what did he end up batting his freshman year? 714.
That's crazy. That's just crazy.
He shouldn't have been playing with the small private Catholic high schools at all. But he was, he was at the time, he was getting someone paying for his education. So, hey, it's a norm now.
Yeah, exactly. Not right now. This guy is very common.
But I mean, you're getting it from all ends. I mean, you got a little bench. Durbin's picking up the slack there with Kim down. I don't know what his timeline is. Oh, he's on the 15. He should be back here in the next 10 days. Okay. He's in AA, moving to AAA, Gwinnett. But I want to know, Sammy, being a guy from Puerto Rico, how did you become a Braves fan? Was it because there's just no team close enough, or?
It's a couple of things. One, it's kind of funny because Uh, I used to like the Braves, like I said, because of WTBS. When I used to go to my aunt's house. I think I told you a story before, and I used to love wrestling, so I used to go for the wrestling because the stories started, the main event started at 6:05 on TBS. But those Braves games used to run long. They used to run long, so you had to have extra innings, and they were the West Coast at a 1 p.m. game. That 1 p.m. game would run long, so I was waiting for the wrestling, and the Braves were playing. And that was my first take to the Braves. But they used to be so bad during those days, so bad. They used to be so bad. I used to wake up in my grandma's house and go look for the newspapers to see if they lost again. So instead of forcing them to win, if they won, I was seeing how many times they could lose because they kept losing it. That was one of the worst Braves season of all time. But that's one of the reasons why I knew the Braves. I love the Braves. I have familiarity, of course, with the Dodgers. The Dodgers and the Mets playing Puerto Rican exhibition game. I think it was 1986, if I remember, 1986, 1987. I ran Visual Stadium where they had the World Championship the other a couple of weeks ago, and that was full to completely full those times. So I had sympathy for the Mets. I wasn't a fan of the Mets. I had sympathy for the Mets. I don't want to use the word hate, but now more than ever, I hate the Dodgers. Because of the money they're spending and another reason, but I just hate the Dodgers. But the Braves, was a team that I could relate. I love the uniform. Those uniforms were crisp, of course, and the chop, people doing the chop. How can you fall for that? So move on to the 1991 playoffs. After being so bad from worst to first, that street bring games sliding at home. That was one of the greatest memories of my life. The Braves used to be by that time. You can see, I think right now, but it was so huge that playoffs were on local TV. You didn't have to have cable to watch baseball or Puerto Rico during the playoffs. So I remember that game was such fun. The Braves being in the Pittsburgh Pirates, and of course, Roberto Clemente. A lot of people were Pittsburgh Pirates fans, but I used to love the Braves. So when the Braves won that series, and I got a lot of flack for that, but I felt so proud because I was the team I was rooting for. So
yeah,
that's basically all the reasons why I was a Braves fan.
Yeah, we got a lot of some Rays fans around here, Pirates fans too, because we have the minor league, the spring training facilities here in Bradenton, Florida, where I am. So got to see, that they're trying to build it up. It's not in the best area, but they're trying to build it up right now and make it an actual thing for the Pirates. But obviously, very interesting how a guy from Puerto Rico becomes a Braves fan, but not having a baseball team, and I'm not assuming anything here, but I'm sure that the Marlins or the Rays, obviously not the Rays, but the Marlins weren't in Florida when you were a kid.
Absolutely. But at that time, that was the closest team to over here. So the Braves by location alone, one of the reasons why you had to root for the Braves because of it.
But I hated the Braves growing up because I'm a Yankees fan, but I can now, I hated the Marlins too when they beat us in 2003, but now I'm just I was like, hey, you can look back and I'm like, respect it. I'm like, I hate them, but I love watching the players.
There's absolutely no way for me, even in the same division, not to have an amenity and a fun, way of seeing the Marlins. I enjoyed those Marlins championship. By that time, the Braves had not won the 2001 championship, so it was very frustrating. But I always see the Marlins with a lot of fun. I used to try to root for them. If the Braves are out, I try to pull for the Marlins. It's kind of weird because we're in the same division, but we had never had a huge rivalry. Actually, the Braves I think very much owned the Marlins, if you ask me. So, what about those unis they use on Sunday? Those are fresh. Have you seen those uniforms they use on Sunday with the teal? That looks beautiful. That's the kind of uniform you think is awesome.
I've literally said they got to get rid of that. Their uniforms, I hate them. I'm like, just go back to the Florida Marlins. The teal and black is just so much better. I was like, hey, guys, I know you're trying to appeal to the kids, but this uniform, this isn't working since you changed. You did win 2 world championships when you were the Florida Marlins. And I went to – I watch because I get the Marlins games here in Florida, and I get all of them, and I watch the Marlins games, and there's nobody. The stadium's empty. And then I went to the Venezuela-Netherlands game. This was a 1 o'clock on a Friday afternoon, and there's more people there, and everybody's in. I'm like, where? I mean, like, can we start doing a little more marketing? I think they're going to get better, but I'm like, hey, you saw when Dominican Republic played uh, Venezuela. That thing is standing room only.
Wow. Yes.
You know,
Serious, right?
I'm like, the baseball fans are there. Can we start doing a little more marketing to get them there? Like, hey, I think they got something going. They got some good young players, but it's like, this is depressing. I watch the Rays games too, and the Rays are one step away from being the best team in baseball right now. And I turn on the game, and I'm like, besides the reopening the Trop back up, it's, you're getting 10,000 people if you're lucky.
Yeah, and they had a lot to work to do with the Marlins because that's been a fan base that has a lot of disappointment. If you ask me, from the outside, of course, I got those people Marlins fans, but what happened to the stadium? The Derek Jeter days that he basically came there, and I know he's your guy, but he was such a huge disappointment the way he managed the team, and the way things were moving down there that time up there at that time. So there's a lot of disappointment in that fan base. But I see a fan base that love their team with their heart. Last year they were kind of hot. They were surging, they were overachieving, and you see a lot of pride in the Marlins fans. So hopefully they can bring back to the fan base. I saw our friends Luda and Ashley during last week. They have a breakfast for the season ticket holders. I think they're trying to do things, but it's an uphill plan to win the favor of the Marlins fan to all that happened to the last, I don't know, 15, 20 years. They won championship. They should be proud of. There's teams that never win the championship. The Brewers, for example, I think they never won a championship. No. So Marlins fans have been fortunate. Again, at one time they had more championships than the Braves. So for me, I was kind of jealous of the Marlins. So they have something to build there. I think that if you build them, they will come. You're not gonna have another way Hansinga to they can spend money hand over fist and no matter what to win a championship. Those days are gone. But I think that they had to find a way to build that farm system after the Jeter days. Basically the reports that they wasn't so good, so they found a way to to buy the farm again, find a way to develop young players that when you're upsurging, don't trade everyone because the fan base is gonna say, why are I gonna be rude for this team that basically every time that we're close that you're doing something, you trade everybody away? And I understand they cannot pay for them, but sometimes you're gonna have to find a way to lose some players to free agency and try to win, get into the players to give that assignment to the fans, because now you're gonna keep losing fans every single year.
I know. I finally met someone from FTSN. I lived in Nashville, Tennessee, and 3 months later my buddy knew Bobby, and we got on the network to do a college football podcast on there. And then I just moved to Florida. He goes, "Oh, I'm from Florida." I'm like, "Oh, I lived in Nashville." He goes, "Oh, I live in Franklin, Tennessee," which is like 45 minutes maybe. So every time I miss him, he was in Miami 10 days before I went down to Miami to go to the baseball game. So every time we just miss each other every time. But I finally, me and Alex met up and we went to dinner. He took me to a great Cuban spot out there. And he's and he's a big Marlins guy. And he's like, it's just the fan base has no faith because every time there is a little hope, they tear it down, which I could see being very, I'm like, hey, we got some guys, we're going. But now we're seeing, I'm like, with the whole salary cap and the looming lockout we could have, you're going to have to, I know people want a salary cap, but I'm like, if they go with the cap, you got to put a floor because you got to have, you have teams who spend $20 million all for the year. I'm like, and the Marlins.
It has to be both ways. Yes, it has to be both ways.
I can't have a team that is, a smaller market team say, hey, there's got to be a cap. I'm like, well, then there's got to be a floor. There's got to be a minimum where you spend some money and not just, hey, there's got to be a minimum to put a field. Yeah. The Marlins make a lot of money. The Marlins revenue is actually very good.
If you have a cap, you have to share revenue. If you share revenue, the Marlins are gonna have money, so we'll have no excuse. I think that like around 12 years ago, around the Bengals were in that position. The Bengals have always been known in the NFL for being cheap.
Deep
I
as
think it's
hell.
Paul Brown, the name. I don't remember. But the Bengals used to, not spend a lot of money. And there was one year that the league told you need to spend the money. You have to comply. And they had to find a way to spend money. And they found that parity. There's supposed to be some parity, in the NFL because every time you have a top and you have a bottom where the least you can spend. So they had to do in baseball. I'm for, and of course the Braves are usually top 10 in spending, but I for one do believe they should be a salary cap in baseball because
Yeah.
if not, the Dodgers are gonna keep buying every single championship they can, and they used. To, I'm sorry, Russ, but the other day I saw Yankees fan complaining about spending money. You got get the F out, you guys. For a decade, you were just the big spender. Just right, Burner spend I'll spend every single one of the other teams. So it's funny that right now you guys are complaining about that. But the Dodgers are taking it to the whole complete stratosphere. They're buying every single time everything they can. So you had to find a way because there's no way people in Minnesota can compete with the Dodgers, for example,
No,
or the
no.
Yankees without those networks, TV networks, and So there has to be someone. But again, like you said, if there's a cap, they have to find a way, to share revenue, and there has to be a top, and there should be a bottom. There's no way that right now the relative baseball, you know, for example, the Reds are going to be able to spend the same as the Yankees. There's no way you can do that. But there has to be a top. There has to be, they have to find a formula with the top and the bottom meet at some point. So you cannot spend so and so compared to what the bottom number is. So it's a complete, it's not a complete science. They had to find a way to do that. It's sad because right now baseball, I think, is the number 2 sport back in the U.S. after so many years where you had thought baseball were gonna crash. So many, the lockouts, the years of baseball.
It's been dying.
If you like baseball, you like it. But I can understand why people don't because, of course, baseball has a lot of tradition, but they're set in their ways. And it took so much for them to implement the clock, the pitching clock. But I think that was a great benefit because it sped up the game. To go to a baseball game and to spend 3.5 hours on games when you want to go home on a weekday, let's say a Tuesday and this 10:30 and you want to go home during the 7th inning, when you're going to come back? There's nothing good for you there. So they speed up the game. I think that was great for them. I think that basically saved them. And right now, I think baseball is back to the number 2 sport in the United States.
I mean, if basketball's starting to, NFL's always going to run it. I get that in the United States. But baseball's getting more views than basketball. Basketball's definitely having a tough time right now with their viewership.
How many problems they have right now?
Yeah, and baseball, and I think it's from the accumulation of the 24 World Series, Yankees, Dodgers. Okay, it's 2 biggest media markets. You saw last year with the Dodgers, Blue Jays putting up massive numbers, and then also you saw the World Baseball Classic, which I'm like, please do that put it in a time where it's like players are in fully ready to go, not in spring training, but you saw the viewership numbers that they got were massive, and one or two of those games were killing NBA Finals games. But I'm like, we're seeing the momentum because of the pitching clock, which is. I wasn't a huge fan right off the bat. I'm an old school baseball guy, but now I'm like, hey, this is great. They really worked it out great. I did say growing up, I'm like, Yankees, Red Sox, it was great, but they're 4.5-hour baseball games.
Yes.
If you're, I mean, it's
162 games on 3 hours, 3.5 hours, most of them. There was no way to survive. There's no way.
I think it's going to be long. I think it's going to be a long one because there's going to be owners and players going at it. No player wants a salary cap. I will push back a little bit. The Yankees did spend a lot of money, but the Yankee and Dodger comparison about spending money is a little different because in 96 to 2001, we did spend money, but the Yankees were built off of 4 core players with Derek Jeter, homegrown, with Jorge Posada, homegrown, with Andy Pettitte, homegrown, with Mariano Rivera, homegrown. Dodgers have 1 homegrown player. One. So, but we did. I mean, and when we did spend a lot of money, it didn't work out all that great because I mean, when we went to the Yankees made the World Series in 2003, and I'm watching them now. I'm like, this team was terrible. Minus, I'm like, this wasn't a World Series team, and the Marlins had momentum going on their side, but I do think there'll be a long lockout. I'm not really happy about that, but I just don't see the players and owners getting together, which I don't think will be good because if you go back to 94, 95 season, that's when baseball started losing a lot of fans because of the lockout. So I hope they come together and work on if it is a salary cap and a salary floor and just get it done and let's go back. But
the one thing that you have in the baseball hand in favor is that you can take a family of 4 to a game and basically don't break the bank. You can there are ways you can go to a game and have a good time and bring it. If you go to a football game, for example, the NFL, how much that will cost you. If you go to Disney World, that will cost you. And if you take a trip in the NBA to watch your favorite player, that player probably don't want to play that night and he wants to take the day off, and you spend all that money basically not to watch the play you want because basketball is a star-driven league. You basically follow more the players than the team sometimes. So I think baseball had a lot of things that they're doing well and they have a chance. A strike will be devastating. And of all the leagues, all the pro leagues, the nastiest labor disagreements are in baseball. Those guys get dirty. Even for when you replace umpires or you take you go to a strike and you want to play with other people playing for the regular players, it gets nasty. It just get very, very nasty. So it doesn't bode well, but we have to wait and see.
Could you see even an NFL player, which these are big, massive men, cussing Roger Goodell out and telling them to get out of the locker room like Bryce Harper did with Rob Manfred, cussed him out and then said, "Get out of here. We don't want you in here anymore," and made him leave. I don't see that happening in any other sport. Even though you got some big 6'6" linemen, I don't see them doing that to Goodell in NFL.
Yeah, but that's always been different. Again, it gets nasty in baseball, so that doesn't bode well because those disagreements, they go through the press, they talk back to each other publicly. So we'll have to wait and see. It will be devastating for baseball because again, they had done a lot of good. The NHL went through that too. The NHL went through a strike. They had to take pay cuts. It got nasty. It took them a lot of time to revive the sport of hockey in the United States. So, but they found a way to do it. So, but it takes a lot of time. So when these are going good, the smart thing to do is try to work with each other. But baseball doesn't have a history of that.
Yeah, baseball has a history of ugly battles for sure. But
yes.
Sammy, I know you had a little time, so I'm not going to hold you here. As the whole time. I know I'm glad you made it for 30 minutes. I know you said you had to run. So I just quickly, I know most of the people know where you are, but for anybody new, just let me know where we can find you and all the podcasts you're on.
Of course, we have Fins TV, but Fins TV is on hiatus, for the off season. I come in every single Dolphins podcaster that can find a way to do a show a week during the off season, even 3 or 4 shows a week. I that's not for me. That's not for my crew. So, we do it 1 month at a time. So we're waiting for the day for the Dolphins minicamp to discuss when we're going to do the next Fins TV. Of course, when the season starts, we're going to go back to doing one show every single week. But, Bobby Finstock, because the president, CEO, the podmaster of FTSN, has the co-host, of course, on FTSN on Finstock today. So tomorrow, we have Finstock today at 8 p.m. here. The flagship of FTSN Finstock today. So tomorrow we're gonna be with Floyd Finstock.
All right. Well, Sammy, I'm not gonna let you. You're always. I'm thank you for coming on, talking a little Braves and just baseball in general. You're always welcome to come back on. Let's
wait 30 games. Let's wait 30, 40 more games, and let's do it again.
Yeah, I mean, you're always I want to talk some baseball. You're always welcome. Anyone. Always love having people talking. Sometimes I just feel like talking to myself and hearing crickets. So I just want to thank you for coming on and
believe me, I wish I had the ability you have. You talk about yourself. I wish I had that ability. You're awesome. You find a way to to explain everything, to talk about it with passion. I know you have for the game, so I wish I have the ability you have. So.
I've done it.
Give a pat on the back.
I've done it. I've done it. The first couple times was really weird, and I really realized I really got to go heavy on my notes, especially by myself. Yeah. But I just burned through them, and I'm like, okay, I'm done. Hey, Bobby, I'm done. I got nothing else. But the one time I did it, I went out, like we're having some. Hey, my sister had a baby, so she was like 4 or 5. My sister's friends wanted to see her. Her parents wanted to see her, so we're hanging out, and I'm having, a few drinks. We're talking. I come back, and I'm like, I'll do it when I get back. I'll do my notes. I'll be good. I'll give myself an hour. And I just went in and take a nap. And I literally text Bobby. I'm like, that was crap. That was the biggest crap I've ever put out. I'm like, I can't do that again.
I wish we had more time. I want to make a little bit fun of the Mets, because the Mets right now are just a mess. Who would have thought that?
Oh my God.
I love Frank the Tank. Frank the Tank is one of my favorite, personalities in all sports. But for the sake of Frank the Tank's, of Frank Fleming's mental health, please, do something. Fire the manager. Do something to satisfy Frank the Tank.
I don't think he's ever going to be satisfied unless they win the World Series, and he probably still won't be satisfied.
I'll tell you what. I never thought I will be okay with the Mets winning World Series, but I'll tell you what. If the Mets win the World Series, I'll be happy because I just would love to see that guy. Of course, he's always also a Dolphins fan, so the Mets gets one, we have to get one too. So 1 for 1, baby. You cannot do that. So.
Well, if Sammy on our football side, I don't think it's going to be for the next couple of years for either of our teams.
Oh no, I know. Slow and steady wins the race. So at least
I'm already seeing mock drafts where it's like 1-3 Dolphins Jets.
Sign me up. I have no problem. In my ideal plan, if I can ask, and beggars can be choosers, but if I can get my way, Malik Willis will be okay, exceed expectations, and be good enough, and the Dolphins can have the first or second overall pick and trade it for more picks and keep stacking the picks. So I will have no problem with that. So we have to wait and see.
All right, Sammy, I'm gonna let you go. I'm just want to thank you for coming on. I don't want to hold you from what you got going on, but thank you for coming on. Always great to have you on here, talk a little baseball, and just we'll definitely get back together and we'll have you back on. Thank you very much.
If the Rays are in first or not, if you need me, I'll be here.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I hope you have a good night.
Love you, my brother. Talk to you soon.
Well, that was Fins Sammy coming on, talking a little Braves there because they are definitely, best record. They're playing very good right now, even though they did lose their first series of the year, losing 2 out of 3 to the Mariners this past. Do they play the Mariners next? No. The Mariners losing 2 out of 3, losing today, but still the best record in the NL at this time. 26-12 with game up on the Cubs, who I want to talk about next. Cubs are definitely, if we're not the hottest team in baseball right now, 7-3 in the last 10 on a 7-game heater. Had a 3-2 extra and a win over the Reds the other day, and a lot of clutch performances. Michael Busch came tying home run and a walk-off hit. They've had 13 straight wins at Wrigley Field, their longest since 2008. They've won 17 out of the last 20. 24-12. They did have a 10-game win streak earlier in the year. Why are they rolling? It's clutch hitting, multiple walk-offs, but a lot of clutch hitting going on. And they're doing it. They lost Cade Horton, who's out for the year, which would have been a big part of that rotation. But you're getting it from Nico Horner batting 300. You're getting it from Michael Busch is giving you a little something. He's 229. 245 Alex Bregman. I expect him to do better, but what Bregman brings on the defensive side with his third base, with his defense at third base is there. I also think Pete Crow Armstrong is definitely going to pick it up. Ian Happ, I see him picking it up. because he's in a walk year. You got Dansby Swanson, who's really another guy who's struggling. So this 24-12 is you're not seeing great. The big guys are not doing it with the Swanson with PCA 237. 245 from Bregman. But they're getting clutch hitting, multiple walk-offs. You got a deep roster, not just the stars. You got a strong bullpen. You did lose who was it? Valencia? I think they lost Valencia. Yeah, Valencia, they just lost him. But you got a deep roster. You got a strong bullpen with shutdown late guys. They're being compared to to that elite Cubs team that won the World Series. They're not just a short hot streak, middle of the order sustained surge that's putting them near the top of the MLB. Runs per game, 5.4 runs per game, top 3 in the MLB. Batting average, not that great, 239. 371 slugging, 336 on base, 8.9 hits per game, top 5 in the MLB, top 3 in the MLB in runs a game. Team ERA, 3.8, 1.9, 19 whip to 1.32, allowing 4.2 runs a game, top 10 range. That home dominance, 16-5 at home with that 13-game win streak. The run differential, 5.4 versus allowing 4.2. Top tier offense, and the pitching has held its own. Why it stands out for why they're probably the hottest team in baseball. You got top 5 offense with guys like Swanson who are struggling, which I see him picking up. And the pitching, even though the pitching is hurt, with losing Cade Horton, you got a top 10 staff right now, and you're clutch. They're on pace to win 90 plus games if they maintain this pace. And on the pitching side, losing Horton was a big loss, but Imanaga's 3-2 with the 2.4 ERA. Jameson Tyone 2-1, 4.24 ERA. The Marlins trade Edward Cabrera 3-0. He's got a 3.27 ERA. But you got a sod back who's struggling. You get him back. Matthew Boyd's going to give you solid innings, but he's got a 6 ERA. Ben Brown's going to give you some innings. He's got a 2.10 ERA. So I think this Cubs team is putting together a really scene with the guys, with Michael Busch kind of struggling, with Ian Happ struggling, and losing Cade Horton has really helped this team out. I think Ian Happ, he's in a walk year. He's going to pick it up. Balancestro, he's 3.02, big guy who's definitely going to figure it out. Carson Kelly 3.12, so they got a good there. Seiya Suzuki's batting 3.06. He's got 6 home runs on the year. Matt Shaw, who's platooning, he's a super utility guy, 2.84. I think as deep as this team goes, and that's baseball. When you get to October, the pitching is going to take them as deep as they can. But going into my last hot team, which is not looking good right now because the Yankees are down 3-0 or 4-0 right now, 6-0 now. I just to the Rangers, but on a 5-game winning streak going in. They're going into today, 13-5 in the home, 12-6 on the road, 25-11, 8-2 in the last 10. This team's not just stacking wins. They're controlling games, looking sustainable. I watched, being a Yankees fan, yesterday's game. What they did to the Orioles, they smacked them around in the pitching dominance. But yesterday, multiple games I watched against the, they are 3-3. It's a close game. The Orioles game the other day, it was 3-3 going in the 8th, and I'm like, I'm just kind of watching on my phone. Fortunately, I do have the Yes Network, but a lot of the games are blacked out in this area, which kind of frustrates me. But I'm watching. It's 3-3, and I'm just watching on my phone. I go do something. I turn it back on. It's 11-3. But this pitching dominance. I mean, they're dominating the game. 5-game win streak going into the 6th. Been part of this. Winning 15 out of the last 17. It's not just hot. This lineup looks solid. And it all starts, even though it all starts with Aaron Judge, it all starts with Ben Rice. It's the best player, Ben 343. This guy who's I think, and if you tune into On Deck, you know I hate analytics and I hate Aaron Boone, even though I'm a Yankees fan. I hate Aaron Boone with a passion, but he is starting to show me a little something this year where he's throwing out the left-right matchup. Ben Rice is the best batter on the team. He's batting 343. He's got 10 home runs on the year. You got to play him every day. Now we're starting to see that. Well, now Ben Rice isn't playing today. Thank you. He's getting the off day. I won't get mad about that. But, I mean, he's got to play almost every single day because he'll be playing there. You got Aaron Judge, who got off to that really slow start. He's batting 273. He's got 14 home runs on the year. He's leading the MLB, 27 RBIs. You got Cody Bellinger, who's been at 283. He's been very big, 26 RBIs, five home runs, but massive games. Did go 4 for 4 the other day against the Orioles with 2 home runs. Jose Caballero, who's batting 260, has literally, which thank God they finally did something right. Anthony Volpe's his injury window was down. He was good to come back. Jose Caballero is starting to play. Is playing batting 260. He makes good defensive plays. Instead of Yankees bringing up the homegrown talent, the guy from New York who lives and breathes the Yankees since he was born, you keep him down. You go with the hot hand. I'm wondering what they do on offense. Trent Grisham, who's 170. I don't there. You lose Giancarlo Stanton, he'll be down for a while. Ryan McMahon, please keep on playing. Ahmed Rosario, who's 267. McMahon picking up 216, has a bad couple games. Jason Dominguez playing better of late, But, the lineup has been consistent, top to bottom, minus Jazz Chisholm. It's not just superstars. Multiple hitters are contributing, what makes it hard for opposing pitchers. Pitching stability. The starters are going deep into the games. And the bullpen has been closing games. They've been closing the door, which has been a big problem. It was a problem last year. Hasn't been a big problem this year. They're beating good arms. They beat Texas, Jacob deGrom the other day. A run like this in early May, it can shape a whole season. Gives them a cushion, especially in the AL East, which is looking, minus the Rays, who we'll talk about here in a little bit. Minus that, it's looking like it could be a 2-team race. It also sends a message across Major League Baseball. They're not just here to be competitive; they're here to win. Thank you. It's the New York Yankees. We're here to win. Hot streaks could cool off, but I think this team has the pitching. I don't know about the hitting, but I think they got the pitching with what they got coming off to keep it going. When they're going to have Rodon, who's coming back, who's going to be back up soon, who just made his last rehab start, and then whenever Garrett Cole comes up. But this pitching has been phenomenal. And speaking of the pitching, you've got Max Fried, who's 4-1 on the year. He's got 2.39 ERA. Ryan Weathers has probably been our worst starting pitcher. He's 2-2. He's got a 3.03 ERA. He's just not getting run support. Unfortunately, today he got touched up a little bit. Will Warren going in today was 4-0, 2.39. And then you got, I would say, AL Cy Young candidate, front runner right now, Cam Schlittler, 5-1 with the 1.52 ERA. And multiple games where he's given up no hits. Listen to his last 3. So yesterday he got the win, but 5 2/3 on Monday against the 7 hits, 1 earned run. He went against Boston. He went 8, 4 hits, 1 earned run. Kansas City, 6 innings, 3 runs, 1 no earned runs. His 1 loss, he went against the Rays with 5, 7 hits, 3 runs. And then on the 28th at Texas, 6 innings, 3 hits, no runs, 8 Ks. So, I mean, in my opinion, he's a front runner for MVP. Real question: can they keep this going? I think this pitching staff keeps it going, and we'll see what happens when those two guys, Cole and Rondon, come back. But I mean, the starters are setting this tone. You're getting quality starts left and right, and the bullpen's been solid. I mean, the bullpen's been solid with from the back half with David Bendar's looks solid from the bullpen, and the bullpen to but pitching's been setting the tone. You're getting quality 6 innings without damage, keeping the team in every game, prevents overusing the bullpen, and the lineups, been dictating matchups. You're getting ahead early in counts. You're forcing, the pitching's getting ahead in early counts and forcing weak contact. The relievers have been in shutdown mode. Now I'm going to get the stats on the relievers right now. I mean, you got David Bender, 10 saves. Fernando Cruz, who's been solid too out of the pen, and he's got a 2.63 ERA. I mean, Tim Hill was a shutdown man, 1.26 ERA. So bullpen's really, really helping out big time. Big picture, they're getting big picture. Keep on winning, getting length from the starters, avoiding that blow-up inning, which unfortunately we're seeing that Evaldi's always a tough guy to go up against. And locking down late leads is their formula. I got a couple surprising teams. And one, if you are a true baseball fan, can go either way. If you are a true baseball fan and you really love the game, this is not a surprise because this team is always competitive, minus a few years here and there. But if you're a casual fan, this is very surprising. But the Tampa Bay Rays, yes, the Tampa Bay Rays are 24-12 with a game back of the Yankees, which will probably change today. God, Jazz, that big old loop there. But, I mean, quiet. Them and their 10,000 fans, they get a game if they're lucky. 10,000 might be pushing it. But, I mean, a solid little win streak. You're 9-1. You've won 6 in a row. 9-1 in the last 10 games. And they're trending upwards. Why are they winning? They got pitching depth. Even with no really big names on the pitching roster. No superstar. They got some good names, but no superstar names. I mean, you've got strong command. This team is definitely is analytically driven. They're not overpowering, but they're overmatching teams. Unlike the Yankees, they're not relying on big offensive explosion. Low scoring games, controlling the game, limiting walks, extra base hits, tight defense, backing their pitching up. A lot of good defense. The bullpen efficiency, mixing arms, no predictable patterns, which is not a big surprise with the Rays organization because they are analytically driven. They're keeping the hitters off balance. Situational hitting, and they're very good with runners scoring position, and they're making contact. But, I mean, on the pitching side, you got Steven Matz, who's been up and down. He's 4-1, 3.86 ERA. Nick Martinez, who with the Reds there, he's got a 1.71 ERA. He's 3-1. Drew Rasmussen 2-1. He's got 2.95 ERA. Shane McClanahan, who definitely was a guy before he got hurt, 4-2. And I mean, they've got some big names on offense that we got to see in the world. Junior Caminero, he's batting 252. Chandler Simpson, 303. He's got 12 stolen bases on the year. This guy can fly. Jonathan Aranda, 273. Cedric Mullins, struggling big time, 139. But that guy puts the ball in contact. And they do the little things. I mean, I think to the casual baseball fan, the Rays are surprising. For a guy like me who loves the game, not a surprise for myself. Bottom line, this Rays team isn't flashy, but that's on brand for them. They have smart pitching usage, clean defense, and just enough offense. And hopefully they can get – if you're in the Tampa Bay area, please go to a Rays game and support so you could get some really good seats and not spend too much money and see some good baseball if you go to the Rays. And these next two teams are probably the biggest two surprising teams. St. Louis Cardinals, who took 2 out of 3 from the Dodgers. I will say. Cardinals, 21-15. They're not elite, but they close games. They're undefeated in extra inning games. Timely hitting. Let me move and get my Cardinals. And I will mention on that side, NL Central, every team's over 500. So that's a surprise in itself. But, I mean, timely hitting from this Cardinals team, very young. I don't see it going. I mean, you've got strong starting pitching in key games. Mike McCreevy goes 6 scoreless against the Dodgers. The starter's been consistent. The bullpen's been good in close, tight games. The late innings has been very clean and composed. They're playing clean baseball. Few mistakes, taking advantage of other teams' mistakes. They've had a lot of negative run differential despite winning baseball games. Bottom line for the Cardinals right now, so I don't know how long you're going to keep it. This is a very young team. Clutch hitting, great in close games, solid pitching and solid starters and bullpen, mistake-free baseball. Going in my last surprise team, and I did mention this a few times on my podcast and on the Marlins podcast. The last surprising team who did lose today, but I did mention it before, is the Chicago White Sox. 17-20. So the White Sox has set the record for most losses in Major League Baseball. Most losses in Major League Baseball. I mean, the pitching's way more stable than I ever saw. Starters from the 2 to 4, they're allowing 2 to 4 runs per game. Fewer walks and better command. And not many innings where they're completely falling apart. The bullpen's holding leads. Late innings aren't automatic losses. Relievers are actually closing games out. And I'm going to get into the stats because one's exciting for me because I did get to scout him. And they've got some great young players. They're not elite. There's no big names on there. But, I mean, you're getting consistent contact. You're getting runners home in key spots. And a few players are heating up, like, Murakami, 14 home runs on the year. I mean, there's a lot. Low expectations, so they're playing free baseball. There's no pressure to be contenders. You got young players who are getting opportunities, being a more aggressive, less tense approach. They're winning in the margins, better in one-run games, few defensive mistakes, taking advantage of opportunities and errors. Reality check, they're not an overpowering team. They're overperforming definitely a little bit. Depth could be a common issue, but they got a solid pitching depth, a reliable bullpen, and the offense is good enough to win some games. Going into some stats, Chase Mydroth from Maricosta High School in Manhattan Beach, California. I got to scout him. He's batting .278, leading the team. Colson Montgomery, 9 home runs on the year. He'll pick it up. A solid shortstop. Moritaka Murakami, .237. He's got the 14 home runs on the year. Benintendi, .234. So, I mean, there's no real flashy guys on this White Sox team, but I don't think anybody saw this, 17-20 being so good. Davis Martin, 5-1 with a 1.64 ERA. Noah Schultz, who's a tower, a mammoth, a man, 2-2 on the year. But I don't think anybody saw this coming, except maybe me. But I won't try to toot my own horn. I did say I did see them turning it around at some point because of what they did. Couple disappointing teams, and not to hammer on the Mets, but the Mets have been really disappointing. Long losing streaks and a lot of bad starts. 9 to 12 game losing streak. The offense has gone cold. Very low run production during these losing streaks. In one stretch, they scored 10 runs over multiple games, frequently missing chances. Injuries, key hitters missing time or playing hurt, especially early in the season. Lineup hasn't been stable, and there's no team chemistry, which if you know anything about the Mets, the chemistry is not there. They don't talk to each other. When you saw the Soto interview, when he was hurt, he doesn't talk to anybody on the team. There's no team chemistry. Young players have been forced into big roles. Pitching's been uneven, minus Nolan McLean. Starters having blow up innings mixed in with good starts here and there. Bullpens blown leads during games for key losses, and you don't have enough shutdown guys. So pitching's been very big even. Is the New York environment too much pressure right now? Big market, big expectations for this Mets, always, especially since Steve Cohen bought the team. There's always big expectations. Early struggles amplify urgency, and the mistakes tend to stack. Bottom line, why they're struggling, cold bats, inconsistent pitching, and injuries, and a lot of long losing streaks. In the last 10 games, the Mets are 4-6 at 13-22, and I know we're early in the season here on May 6th, but 11.5, you can't get much. You're gonna start digging himself in the hole. Red Sox would be my next team, and their biggest issue is inconsistent pitching. Rotation has not been stable from start to start. You've had some strong innings, but a lot of blow-up innings. Early season team ERA is very high. Offense has gone cold now. They have won some games since relieving manager Alex Cora of his duties, but, I mean, a lot of low run totals, poor production with runners in scoring position, and a lot of key strikeouts in key spots. One of the lowest home run totals in Major League Baseball, and scoring just a handful of runs across multiple games. Also, defenses, a lot of mistakes on defense. Errors and misplays has cost a lot of innings. The little things, the walks, the misplays, the bad throws. It just down spirals. Early season inconsistency, and they got no identity, and we'll see what happens with them. They've had hot stretches followed by immediate slumps. Lineup changes and injuries have hurt the Red Sox, and team hasn't settled into a clear offensive identity. The one positive lately for the Red Sox, show a little flashes. They did recently beat the Tigers 10-3 with a strong starting pitching performance, so there is a little hope. Bottom line, why they're struggling? Bottom line, they're struggling. Pitching isn't consistent at all. The offense disappears way too often. Defense adds extra damage, and there's nothing clicking at the same time. And then my last team would be the team who just made the World Series last year was the Blue Jays. And the Blue Jays 16-21, and they're 4-6 in the last 10, and just lost today to the Rays, and did get swept by the Tampa Bay Rays. But I mean, the offense has been a big issue. It's gone cold. They have been one of the worst teams in the MLB with runners in scoring position, low batting average, and weak power and clutch spots. Too many innings, hit nothing, stranded runner. Pitching has been a big issue for them. Rotation has been uneven. You get some good, you get some really bad blow-up games. Bullpen has been inconsistent, and especially in late innings. The team ERA is high. Am I on the right one? It looks the same. Defense is, adding some serious pressure. Errors and misplayed balls and extending innings, which is surprising because the Jays last year, they were such a fundamentally sound team. Extra outs turning into runs for opponents. Injuries definitely killing the team. Key hitters and pitchers have missed time playing. Lineup hasn't stayed consistent long enough to build a rhythm. Reinforcements are coming, but will it be enough? Especially they're going to need something on the pitching side. Everything's out of sync for them. Offense not clicking. Pitching hasn't been steady. Defense isn't clean. And timing in games feel off. I mean, this roster is too good to lose this many games. But, I mean, the injuries really have hurt them. They're losing small, repeatable parts of the games. And that adds up fast in the AL East. The Blue Jays, bottom line, whether the offense disappears in key spots, pitching's been inconsistent, defense is adding extra damage, and the injuries have really added up for them. So, I mean, 16-21 from a team. I mean, on the injury side, I mean, Scherzer just went down. Berrios went down to the 15-day. Addison Barger's on the 10-day. Nathan Luke's on the 10-day. Alejandro Kirk on the 10-day. Shane Bieber on the 60-day DL. Cody Ponce on the 60-day. Anthony Santander, 60-day DL, got transferred. So, I mean, they've got some coming, but I don't know with the Jays with this pitching staff. But those are just a couple of my teams that, couple teams that are getting hot, a couple teams that are very surprising. I am in the Tampa area, so I will be trying to get out to some games definitely after school is done at the end of this month. But I did look, and the tickets are very reasonably priced, very cheap. But I hope they get more fans because that team's fun to watch. But I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. Want to thank Fins Sammy for jumping on a little bit tonight. But this is On Deck here on FTSN. I hope everybody has a great night.